In the bustling city of Lagos, Marcus Okafor reigned as the most eligible bachelor. His charm, wealth, and good looks made him the talk of every social gathering. One evening, at an upscale bar, Marcus boasted to his friends, "I can win over any woman I set my sight on." His friend Chidi scoffed, "Any woman? That is a bold claim, even for you." "I will bet you ₦1,000,000, Marcus declared, his eyes gleaming with confidence. The group erupted in laughter, but Emeka, the quietest of the bunch, spoke up. "All right, big shot, let's make this interesting. I challenge you to win over a woman from my home village. No city girl, no one impressed by your fancy car or designer clothes. A real traditional village woman." Marcus hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "You are on. I will have her falling for me in no time." Little did Marcus know this bet would change his life forever. Marcus' sleek sports car bobbed along the dusty road leading to Emeka's village. He frowned as his designer shoes sank into the soft earth. "Welcome to Umwaka," Emeka announced, giving a sign to the cluster of homes ahead. Children ran up to the car, pointing and laughing at Marcus's city attire. He felt like a fish out of water, completely out of his element. As they walked through the village, a young woman caught Marcus's eye. She was carrying a heavy basket on her head, yet moved with grace and confidence. Her simple dress could not hide her natural beauty. "That is Olana," Emeka said, noticing Marcus's stare. "Good luck charming her. She is known for her sharp tongue and distrust of city men." Marcus straightened his shirt, accepting the challenge. He approached Olana with his most winning smile. "Let me help you with that basket," he offered smoothly. Olana looked him up and down, then burst out laughing. "In those shiny shoes, you will drop it before taking 2 steps. Go back to your fancy car, city boy. We don't need your kind of help here." As she walked away, Marcus stood stunned. For the first time in years, a woman had left him speechless. Determined to win the bet, Marcus began his quest of Olana. He showed up at the village square each morning, offering to help her with her daily task. Each time, she found a new way to snub him. "Olana, let me fetch water for you," he said one day, reaching for her bucket. She sneered, "Can you balance it on your head?" "No, then you will just slow me down." Her constant rejections only intrigued Marcus more. He found himself thinking about her sharp humor and dazzling smile, even when they weren't together. Meanwhile, the village buzzed with gossip about the persistent city man. Some found his effort amusing, while others warned Olana to be careful. "Men like him only want one thing," her friend Adana cautioned. "Once he gets it, he'll be gone faster than yesterday's wind." Olana nodded, but a small part of her wondered if there might be more to Marcus. One afternoon, Marcus spotted Olana sneaking into the dense forest bordering the village. Out of curiosity, he followed her at a distance. Deep in the woods, he lost sight of her. Suddenly, he heard a melodious sound, Olana's voice, singing in a language he did not understand. He pushed through some bushes and found himself in a small clearing. There stood Olana, surrounded by a group of young children. She was teaching them traditional songs and dances, her face alight with joy. Before Marcus could retreat, a twig snapped under his foot. Olana reeled around, her expression changing from surprise to anger. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. Before Marcus could answer, a child's scream pierced the air. A large snake had slithered into the clearing, its fangs bared. Without thinking, Marcus lunged forward, placing himself between the snake and the children. But in his haste, he lost his footing on the uneven ground. As he fell, the snake struck. Marcus felt a sharp pain in his arm, then everything went blank. He awoke to find Olana kneeling beside him, applying a poultice to his wound. "You fool," she muttered, but her tone was softer than he had ever heard it. What were you thinking? Marcus met her eyes. I could not let it hurt the children or you. For the first time, Olana looked at him with something other than disdain. As Marcus recovered from the snake bite, he found himself seeing Olana and the village in a new light. He watched her take the children, tend to the sick, and work tirelessly for her community. One evening, as they sat outside the temporary hut, Marcus confessed, "I have never met anyone like you. Olana, you have made me question everything I thought I knew about myself." Olana studied him carefully. "And what have you learned?" Marcus sighed, "That I have been living a shallow life, chasing women, making bets. It all seems so meaningless now." Just as Olana was about to respond, a familiar voice called out, "Marcus, my man, how is the conquest going?" Chidi and Emeka had arrived, waiting expectantly. Marcus felt his stomach drop as he realized he would have to explain the bets to Olana. But before he could speak, Olana stood up, her eyes flashing with anger. "Conquest? Is that what I am to you? A prize to be won?" Marcus reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Olana, please let me explain." But she was already walking away, leaving Marcus torn between his old life and the new world he would discover in Nwaka. The village of Nwaka buzzed with excitement as preparations for the annual Yam Festival reached their peak. Marcus found himself swept up in the festivities, helping to hang decorations and learning traditional dances from the elders. He caught glimpses of Olana throughout the day, her face still clouded with hurt and anger. Each time he tried to approach her, she melted into the crowd. As night fell, the festival reached its crescendo. Drums pounded and villagers danced around a massive bonfire. Marcus stood on the sidelines feeling more out of place than ever. Suddenly, a tall, muscular man approached Olana, Ikena. Marcus heard someone whisper, "He's been trying to cut Olana for years." Marcus watched as Ikena pulled Olana into the dance, their bodies moving in perfect sync. A pang of jealousy shot through him, surprising in its intensity. At that moment, Chidi appeared at Marcus's side, clapping him on his back, "So ready to collect your winnings," and held back to civilization. Marcus stared at his friend, realizing how foreign that word now seemed. Before he could respond, a commotion erupted near the bonfire. Olana had broken away from Ikena, her eyes flashing with anger. Without thinking, Marcus pushed through the crowd towards her. He had a choice to make, and for the first time in his life, the answer was crystal clear.